Oh, my name's Bruce Brittain. I'm from Ottawa. But we flew Halifaxes.
What was the Halifax like?
Well, I found it to be an excellent aircraft. Some people referred to Lanc, but I think most people would agree that the Halifax was quite a superior aircraft. Got through icing much faster. Didn't fly quite as far when winter came and the deep penetrations had to be made into places like Stettin and so on. We left that to Lancs because they had longer range. That was a real advantage of Halifax as well.
I was in Thalthorpe a couple of years ago and got up on at the base there, the aerodrome, and the guy was standing up on the lookout tower, and he was saying that one night they were coming back and about 5 or 6 planes crashed because of the heavy ice. A freak storm happened just as they were landing and poured ice, freezing rain on the wings, and about 6 or 7 Halifaxes or Lancasters crashed.
Yeah, well, the night after I was shot down, 6th group, the Canadian bomber group, went out, and they lost. May have been the same raid. They lost an awful number of aircraft over the hills. They couldn't get up above the icing, and if they went below it, they hit the tops of the mountains, and they lost a good number of aircraft.
What was your position in the plane?
I was pilot.
Pilot.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're a pilot. Tell me about what happens when you find out. I guess they didn't have weather warning systems in those days. They could radio you. It may have be radio silence, I guess. How did you know about icing conditions happening, and what was it like when it did happen?
Well, the Met wasn't too bad. It was not obviously it wasn't as sophisticated as it is today, and they would give us heights to fly to avoid icing. We did have a certain amount of de-icing equipment on the wings of the aircraft that would break it off if we did get stuck. But if it was real bad icing, there really wasn't an awful lot we could do unless we could get down low enough that it would melt off before we got to ground.
I want you to describe a Halifax to me, right from the front end to the back. What do you
Boy, a long time ago. It was we had our pilot's position. When I was flying, there was we didn't use a co-pilot. There weren't enough pilots around, so we flew one pilot, although there was a co-pilot seat. So there was only one guy who could fly that kite, which meant you couldn't take advantage of the facilities at the back, which the other members of the crew could. There was what we called a Nelson can, and that was very nice for the others, but not for the pilot. Underneath we had our navigator, the wireless operator. Up front we had the bomb aimer, who also acted as a front gunner. I don't know anybody who ever used the front gun. The engineer was right behind us, and one of his particular preoccupations was the fuel, keep the aircraft balanced, the fuel coming out of the different tanks at the appropriate time, watch the engine temperatures and things like that. Then we had 2 gunners, the mid-upper, as the name suggests, right at the mid position in the aircraft, and a rear gunner. And then under the bottom we had the H2S radar set, which we use for navigation.
So I can imagine these guns make a lot of noise when they go off. When you're sitting up there and you're a pilot, could you hear the guns going off behind you?
No, you didn't really hear the guns going off. What you notice is the air gunner, when he starts moving his turret around, keeps knocking you off course, and a bit of a nuisance for a pilot trying to fly a steady course.
That would really affect the plane, just him swooping around there.
Oh yeah.
Jeez. So tell me the last 5 minutes before you were shot down.
We were on our last trip +2. We'd gone a bit over our number of sorties that we were required to make for a tour. We were out mine laying. There were only 12 of us. We were up in Rostock Harbor, which is on the Baltic coast of Germany, and we had laid our mines in the harbor. We were on our way home across crossing the narrow isthmus of Denmark, and feeling pretty happy because we knew we were on our way home, our last trip, and we'd be having a month's holiday before we started something else. A bit of a flak came up, and I said, "Geez, where'd that come from?" Somebody said, "Well, one of the crew, that's from the ground." went along a little farther, and then we really got clobbered. We were set on fire in the fuselage, and the port wing was on fire. The engine was on fire in the port wing, and by this time we were out over the sea. The question whether we were going to ditch or whether we were going to get back over land and jump. Prospects of ditching weren't very good. This was February. It was pretty cold out there. Very dark night, and I wasn't at all sure we'd be able to really pull off a good ditching. So we turned around as soon as we got back over land, and I told them to jump, and off they went. The ones that were still alive. Both the gunners were killed in that attack. That was, I don't know, man, that seemed like about an hour, but I don't know whether it was 5 minutes. It was probably more like 2 or 3 minutes. What I found out afterwards was that the bomb aimer had picked up an enemy fighter on his fish pond, little radar screen. The bomb aimer was tuning the radar set, so he said to himself, this is what he told me afterwards, I'll let him finish tuning the set and I'll pick up that guy pick up that blip when he's finished. Well, that was sort of famous last words. The blip just turned around under us, and it was a Ju-88 with outboard firing cannon. And in that short time, he was able to just finish us off.
So now you're on the ground. How did you hit the ground?
Well, I hit about the only paved road in Denmark I ever saw. I didn't see the road when I hit it, mind you. It was very, very black, and I didn't know exactly where I was, but that's what I hit, so that put me out of commission for 2 or 3 months. The others were landed in the mud field, and they got away for a while. They were soon picked up. I was picked up next morning. We came down about 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock. I was picked up about 7 in the morning. Taken to a farmhouse. Then they sent for an ambulance. Well, that was a dead giveaway when you send for an ambulance under those circumstances. And very soon I was in a German hospital in Denmark.